Brother, if you're watching this, by now you're most likely becoming aware that there are parts of you, unconscious parts of you, that are playing out in your relationship, in your work, in your mission, in your purpose, in your career, how you show up as a father, a partner, a leader, brother. And if you're watching this, for the most part, I can imagine that there's a part of you that's wanting more, that's seeking more, and knows that you're capable of being more and showing up with a greater depth and capacity as a man and a leader in the world. You're already part of the 1%, because there's a lot of men who are aware of their limitations. They're aware potentially that there's unresolved wounding. For the most part, they wait until it's painful enough, until they really lean in and do this depth of work. So I really want to honor you and celebrate you for being here watching this, because that tells me that you're committed, you're an action taker, and that you're willing to do the deep inner work and really face yourself. So with that being said, the intention of this video is to share with you what we're doing here in this work. When I talk about healing the boy and awakening the man, like, what does that even mean? And why? Like, what's the point? Like, why should I do this work? There's so much more beyond just getting out of survival, getting out of reactivity and shutdown. And there's so much more deep meaning, purpose, and fulfillment that's possible when a man heals the small part of him and awakens the man, where he goes from operating from a small capacity to a larger capacity, where he goes from small energy to big energy, where he goes from the little boy to the embodied masculine leader, the safe man, the grounded man, the man that people trust in relationships, in business, in leadership. Just imagine for a moment, this is a little cup. Now, this cup is where most men are operating. As you'll learn through the work that we do together, as I take you through each stage of development, understanding trauma and emotion, the deep inner healing work, processing grief and building a relationship with grief and all of this stuff, as we go deeper into that, this will make a lot more sense. But for the most part, until we go through that work and we reclaim the little boy within us in each stage of development, this is where most men are at. Imagine this is a little cup, and this is your cup. This is your capacity. This is how much you can hold. And when I say how much you can hold, I mean your own emotions in your relationship, with all of this stuff going on in your work, in your career, in your business. Just imagine for a moment that the blue here is all of the chaos of life. The relationship, your work, the decisions you need to make, maybe even children, all of this stuff filling your cup every single week, every day. And it just slowly begins to fill over time. Now, think of a little 5 or 7-year-old or even 12-year-old boy dealing with everything you have going on in your life today. That would be very overwhelming for them. And that's the place most men are operating from. They're walking around life today as grown adult children. Our body doesn't know the difference between the little, let's say, 7-year-old or 12-year-old boy and who you are today. If there's a little boy within you who didn't get his core developmental needs met in childhood, or he experienced emotional trauma or emotional abuse, or emotional disconnection in his family system, he stays stuck in the timestamp of that energy. So he may look like, or you may look like, a grown adult man, but your emotional capacity is that of a little boy, because that's the last stage of development that you're actually still operating from, especially in relationships. This is where men get easily overwhelmed, insecure, reactive. They become, rumination, like deep jealousy, shutting down, closing off, struggling to open your heart, struggling to speak your truth, being the nice guy, the people pleaser, the man who loses himself in relationship, the one who really struggles to be in his frame of energy, where he's truly leading in his life and his relationship, because he's still operating from the consciousness of a little boy. And relationships will be extremely overwhelming for him, especially the full expression of the feminine, on top of everything else he's got going on in his life, will be extremely overwhelming or very easily triggering. If you're watching this, I'm sure that you are wanting more out of life. And you know that there's a leader within you. You know there's a man within you who lives with deep integrity, who lives with deep purpose and meaning and fulfillment, and is a true leader in his life and leads his partner, his business, his mission, his purpose, all of it. And this man who has this greater capacity to hold it all and to truly lead from a grounded place, from a secure place, where the connection that he has to himself, the frame of energy that he is in within himself, is deeply inspiring to those people around him. And this is where he leads through the depth of connection he has to himself, where his presence alone is the safety for the people around him, where they feel safe enough to rely and depend on him emotionally because of the capacity that he has. When we expand our capacity, and by the way, this small cup, this is the little boy who doesn't feel, well, this is the man who doesn't know the difference between the man and the little boy who feels that he's not good enough, he's not worthy enough, he's not lovable, and he becomes confused and enmeshed with the man. Where your higher self and the grown man you don't know the difference between the little boy who doesn't feel good enough and the man who doesn't feel good enough. This is the emotionally immature boy, this small cup. He's still stuck at the early stages of development based on the unresolved trauma or the unmet emotional needs that he had in childhood. So how we expand our capacity, and by the way, until you do this work, and what's really crazy is as you go through this work with me, you'll begin to realize and see where most men are actually operating in their life. And it's quite sad. Most men are walking around today through life as lost boys, because they didn't receive the rites of passage and the initiation that they needed in each stage of development to progress through and past each stage of development and mature. You might feel mature in most areas till you get into a relationship. Relationships will trigger this unresolved, the little boy, more than anything. Our original experience of relationship, our original patterns, and the role that we played within our family system will be triggered in relationship, or when you have children, or when you're trying to grow a business and it just feels like a grind and it's just draining you. How we expand our capacity for the man to awaken, the leader to awaken. This is what I've helped hundreds of men all over the world cultivate and build within themselves. And what I've noticed, there's two things that takes for a man to really expand his capacity and awaken the man, awaken that greater capacity in his relationships, in his business, and in his life, right? So imagine this as an expanding circle, right? This is your capacity as a man expanding. And it's based on two things. One is your nervous system. So what this is, we have the conscious mind. Conscious mind is everything that you can consciously think, or memories that you can consciously recall. And then we have the subconscious mind, which is the unconscious, which is the belief systems. It's the trauma, it's the wounding, it's our identity, it's our belief systems. It's the 95% of us that is actually in control. And it's based on the foundation of who you were at the early stages of your life. And as I shared before, until we heal this and resolve the original foundations, which is what I call the original pain, your life will be built upon the foundation, on a broken foundation of the little boy, or an incomplete foundation. So when we go back and reclaim the little boy, and for you to meet the deepest parts of yourself, for you to heal those parts, you're healing at the deepest core level. You're healing the 95% of you that's actually in control. So working with the nervous system is healing the unresolved wounds and trauma based on what you experienced in childhood, in relationship. Working with the nervous system is you not only healing and reclaiming the little boy, but then actually progressing through into stepping into your power as a man and a leader. Now, what that looks like is constantly finding your edge and expanding beyond your edge through developing your capacity. That's a whole other thing in itself. But basically, in the essence of that this is where, as a man, through having certain pillars of support like brotherhood, like mentorship, like having the tools and resources within your nervous system. This is where you get to meet your edge and expand into your edge and grow your capacity as a man. The masculine grows and thrives off challenge. And in challenge is where we get to find a new capacity within ourselves. And this is not just physically, this is emotionally. And there's an emotional processing that needs to happen in order for you to expand your nervous system's capacity when you meet that new edge each time. And when I say the edge, it could be your edge in relationship. It could be an edge could be your triggers, right? Like being with your triggers. How much can I be with this experience, right? With the tools, the resources, the brotherhood, the people around you to support you in that expansion of your nervous system's capacity. Okay. So that's the first piece, is actually working with the nervous system and expanding the capacity within your nervous system by two things: reclaiming the little boy and meeting your unmet developmental needs. And two is actually leaning into your edges and having the right support for your nervous system to expand your nervous system's capacity into a whole new way of being, right? When you've been playing small a lot of your life because you've been operating from the consciousness of the little boy, as you meet your edge and expand your capacity, you're also stretching everything that you've ever believed to be true about yourself. And when you don't have the right tools and resources to expand past that and to actually integrate, that's the key word, integrate. You'll do something to fuck it up, and this is what self-sabotage is. You'll come back to what's familiar, which is this small capacity. Allow it to really sink in. That's self-sabotage. And I'm sure if you're watching this, you've probably experienced some form of self-sabotage before. I have. A lot of it. The second one is your emotional intelligence. This is actually learning and cultivating an awareness of your emotional experience moment to moment. This is you cultivating the awareness in your relationships, in your business. For the most part, the awareness of where the little boy is showing up, how he shows up, and what it is you need to meet those parts of yourself that is seeking your attention. Emotional intelligence is you doing this work. It's watching this training. It's you continuing your journey with me. It's you dedicating yourself to deep inner work, personal growth, brotherhood, being at the events, going to the retreats, like being in the space, learning, understanding, healthy communication. Now, this here, I would say the emotional intelligence is very much just the awareness, which is really the 5%. The real work, the real shift that happens that expands our nervous system's capacity is when we actually work with the nervous system. This is what we call, this here is the intellectualizing. This is the intellectual piece to the healing. This is understanding it. This is knowing about it, understanding it, being aware of it. This is most therapy. I've worked with hundreds of men who have done years and years and years of therapy where they're just cultivating emotional intelligence. And it's as far as that. Reading books, listening to podcasts, just watching this training. All you're doing is stimulating and developing this awareness. And we need a healthy level of it. But where most people go wrong is where they intellectualize their healing. And what they're doing is they're actually avoiding what's in the nervous system. Because as humans, we do everything in our power to avoid pain. So here, very much, people can get stuck here and they stay stuck in the ego. That's actually avoiding the pain of what they experienced as a little boy, whether they know it or not. So this, I trust, will give you a deeper understanding of how we expand our capacity as going from boy to man. And it's a continuous expanding. As I shared, a lot of men come into this space who have done a lot of intellectual work, where they've read the books, they've listened to the podcasts, and they know all this stuff, they understand it, but yet nothing changes, nothing really shifts. Because what we get to do together is when we work with the nervous system, the 95%, we do the deep embodiment work. This is where the lasting change happens. But in here, in the embodiment work, this is where we reclaim the little boy, we meet the unmet needs of the wounded boy, and we expand into our capacity, as I've shared, what this half of the circle it is. I would love to work with you personally on this and answer questions and go deeper into it and really understand where you're at with things. But for the most part, coming back here, the more we go through life, if you look at this as a graph, this here is your capacity when you're operating from the little boy. And then you meet a new edge. You're triggered in relationship. Your business is requiring more of you. And you go, oh, right? Your capacity expands. And what a lot of people do is, because they don't have the tools and the resources, this is extremely overwhelming for them, right? And they do something to bring it back down, because that's new territory. It's unfamiliar. It's overwhelming. And therefore, it's unsafe for your nervous system. So they do something to bring it back down. But basically, through doing this work, through us continuously, or you continuously meeting the depth of yourself, through expanding your nervous system, through healing the little boy, reclaiming the little boy, you get to meet yourself at a new capacity, at a new edge. And you get to integrate that capacity. You get to integrate and heal what's seeking your attention. So now this is your new baseline. This here is now your new capacity. Same thing again. Your relationship, your business, your children, whatever, are requiring more of you. And the little boy is going to come out again in a certain way. There's going to be something that triggers the little boy again. And this is where, through this work, you get to meet the depth of yourself again, meet a deeper part of yourself, and integrate that part of you, where now this is your capacity. You get the idea. You get the point. But basically, what begins to happen is over time, through us doing this work together, through you healing the little boy, through you reclaiming the unmet needs that you didn't have met as a child, by you grieving. Grieving is your body's natural process of actually emotionally processing so you can let go. It takes for us to grieve the childhood that we didn't have, and the needs that we didn't have met, and the initiation that we didn't receive. It takes for us to grieve that, for us to really reclaim those younger parts of us and mature those parts of us. Your nervous system's capacity starts to expand, where basically you go from this little cup. So everything that once was overwhelming for you is now just a drop in the bucket. This is where you get to really show up as the man and the leader in your life, in your relationships, in your work, in your business. This here is going to be how and where you're able to be the masculine pillar, the bedrock, the foundation of support for the people around you, especially in relationship. Because until you heal the little boy, reclaim the younger part of you, you'll be operating from that small little cup, easily overwhelmed, easily reactive, easily shut down, easily insecure, playing small. So once we heal the boy and awaken the man and embody the safe, grounded, masculine leader within you, until we do that, you'll continue the little boy within you, the wounded little boy, or just the not even the wounded little boy, but when you're operating from this really small capacity, it's going to slowly leak into and contaminate your entire life in every single area of your life, if you have not yet become aware of that yet. So I'm looking forward to us doing this work together, for you to really heal the younger parts of you, reclaim the little boy, expand your nervous system's capacity so you can truly be the man that this world is craving. You get to be the safe, grounded, masculine man who is in his own frame of energy, who is grounded and secure, just anchored in himself, like a tree that's been standing tall for hundreds of years, that's so deeply rooted in itself, where it can move in the breeze, but it's unshakable. For a moment, I would love for you to take some space to really reflect on what would be possible within your life if you were to be operating from this greater capacity of the man. How would that impact the people around you? Imagine how much more safe and supported your partner would feel in relationship for her to deepen into her full expression. What would be possible in the level of impact and meaning and fulfillment and success that you create in your mission, in your career, in your work, if you are operating from this greater capacity? And lastly, my question to you is, what is it costing you by not doing this? What is it costing you by staying small? What is it costing you by not being the man or the leader that you know that you're capable of being? And this is where you get to lean in before it costs you those things. And this is where you get to be the creator of your life, no longer the victim to it. When you're operating from this greater capacity, this larger capacity as the man.